So Arizona, in May in 2022, we're trying to push for the Supreme Court to rule that incarcerated people cannot prove their innocence to exonerate them. And we know in the 13th Amendment, there is a clause that says slavery is abolished with the exception of incarceration for a crime. And most people who have been exonerated and proven their innocence have been black people. I say that to say that we may not have slavery the way that our ancestors experienced it. It has not been officially abolished and eradicated. With the way that the Supreme Court is going and the way that some of these laws that are being passed are making things illegal, slavery may look very differently. And I feel like it could be sooner than we think. I do believe that they're going.
Okay, so I got the transcripts. Mitch, we have to bring slavery back. Those were the good old days. Kevin, how will we do that? There's no way we can do that. Mitch, black people won't do it, but white people will. Kevin, how will we get white people to be slaves? That sounds ridiculous. Mitch, we have to get rid of the separation of church and state. We must have state-funded religious schools. Kevin, I don't see where you're getting at. Mitch, those schools will have work programs for 4th through 8th graders. Kevin, I think I see where you're going here. How is that going to work? Mitch, we get the kids to pick all the produce as a part of their work program to teach them the values of good old-fashioned blue-collar labor and the bounty of God. Kevin, I don't think that anyone will go for that. Mitch, it's all about grooming. Start in the 1st grade, and by 4th grade, they'll be ready to do it. Kevin, but we already have people to pick the produce. Mitch, we have to finish the wall. Kevin, no way that's going to happen. Mitch, we find better ways to get the immigrants out of the United States. Kevin, like doubling ICE. Mitch, yes. Kevin, this will be too hard, and we'll be too busy trying to sustain this over long periods of time and generations. Mitch, no, we get rid of the abortion laws in the United States and we make it mandatory that all 8th grade females be impregnated in order to graduate. Kevin, like replacing the crops. Ha ha ha, pun intended. Also, Kevin, I will work on getting the abortion banned. You work on state-funded religious schools. Mitch, we don't have to do either. Lindsay and I took care of that with the new SCOTUS.
So hello everyone, hope you're all doing well wherever you're watching this video from, and thank you so much for supporting this channel by watching this video. So in today's video we're going to be seeing how the US President Donald Trump is trying to find new ways of threatening us. At first he was using segregation as a way of threatening us. He was using segregation to threaten us to follow his ways and his rules. Like he wanted us to submit to his ways. So he tried to use segregation, but the black people didn't comply to whatever he wanted. Like they didn't do what he wanted. So now he's using slavery. He's saying that he is going to bring back slavery if we don't listen to him and if we don't follow his rules or whatever he wants us to do. So I'm not going to talk much about this because I've compiled some videos for you guys to watch, and I'll be giving my commentary at the end of these videos. So let's first watch these videos, and at the end of the videos I'll be telling you guys what I think about all this, and you guys should also tell me what you think through the comment section. Give me your comments and I will surely read them and I will reply to them, and I'll also give you my thoughts through the comments. So let's keep the conversation going through the comment section, and as usual, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and to like this video, and also share this video to your friends or whoever you think might be interested in watching this video. So let's watch the videos, then I'll give my comment at the end. So thank you so much.
Yes, literally. everything ties back to slavery in this country because it was built off of slavery. Like, slavery was embedded into the fabrics of American society. So we can't overlook the effects, right? We can't try to address the effects of the problem with overlooking the root of the problem. And the root of the problem is slavery. And it's in every single industry. And I also want us to conceptualize how big slavery actually was. I guess the easiest way I can liken it is to like the global agriculture system or the global tech industrial system. Think about how big tech is. Think about how big tech is, or how big agriculture is. Like, the reason why we saw an increase in grain and wheat and all of those products increase, the reason we saw that is because Russia and Ukraine have like a serious hold, like a 30% market hold on grain globally. And so if you just so happen to dismantle a system here, it inadvertently is going to affect you elsewhere. That's what synchronicities are. It's, yes, you don't have to directly be impacted, but you can indirectly be impacted, and it's just as bad. So when we look at how slavery, like the removal of slavery and the rights being granted to formerly enslaved persons, well, how did that have a devastating and crippling effect on our economy? Well, we saw the creation of the Black Codes, which then eventually evolved into Jim Crow. And then from there, we saw the need for mass migration. So that's where Ellis Island became like this major stronghold. And it was the idea of the American dream, because you had to sell people on that. You had to sell them on opportunity, which is where they came up with the concept of the American dream and the Industrial Revolution. That really created the mechanized movement. So, and then you started seeing like the vehicle, the automobile come about, and how Henry Ford, although he was not the first one who created the vehicle, he was the one that created the assembly line and mass production. And you needed people, you needed bodies to do that, and you no longer had free labor. And so they were going to exploit as much as they possibly could from a eager and willing migrant class. Here's the issue, is they were not willing to accept the conditions that Black Americans were forced to endure. They were not willing to do that at all. They were not willing to do that. And as a result, that's where you start to see collective bargaining, the rise of unions, which then led to the rise of human resources, because companies saw, hey, you know, it might be a bit cheaper if we internalize these processes, and this way we get to have a say-so on how we actually enforce this stuff. But there was also laws that were being passed, the Fair Labor Standards Act. Those laws were being passed, and so it was forcing these companies, these major conglomerates like Rockefeller, to actually participate in a system that he was intentionally trying to dismantle. Now, I also want to touch on the fact that like these conglomerates like Rockefeller and Ford, they're the ones that's responsible for the modern day education system. There's a reason why we have like kids go to school the same time that we go to work. And that there's a bell that's rung, and our system, our structure is set up the same way. Essentially, it's to create the best factory worker, the person who doesn't ask any questions, the person who shows up, does what they're supposed to do, and goes where they're supposed to be. And there you go, they're not a problem. The ones who can't conform to it become problematic. And so we used to weed them out and easily imprison them, which is why there is a school to prison pipeline, but that existed prior to the crack epidemic. But I mean, like, all of this stuff is like entrenched within one another, all of it. Like, and it's so crazy. If you were to just pull the thread and actually see all of the other connecting points, you'd see that it always goes back to slavery. Always.
Bring me the native talk. Here, take the peace pipe. Her name's Penelope Cruz. A lot of our history has been erased on purpose. And when you think of slavery, you think of the African slave trade. But did you know that we were slaves for 100 years longer than Black people? and 100 years prior. And slavery supposedly ended in 1865 for black people, but there were reports of native slaves up into the 1920s. I said 1920s. This video is not Oppression Olympics, black people versus natives. Don't do that. But we were slaves for 100 years longer than black people, and they just swept that shit under the rug. You are a descendant of slaves. And after the first 100 years of slavery, some, not all, it was like 4 of them, after 100 years of slavery, some of the tribes that were deemed Christianized, humanized, depigmatized, white nationalized, they started enslaving us and black people. Enslaving the rival tribes that would not fuck with slavery. The ones that managed to keep some culture intact. Because for black people, they snatched them up away from their land and their culture, everything gone. But for natives, they had to destroy our culture and our world around us. And black people were seen as American citizens before we were, because reservations were a form of segregation. We were considered to be not a part of America, which is why we have our own separate tribal governments, our own identification cards. Because mama, we fought slavery for hundreds of years. But the reality is that no black person and no native person, no indigenous person in America was ever truly free until the Civil Rights Act. Or maybe it was the Voting Act, Lyndon Johnson, or maybe both. Google that shit. And I don't know how to verbalize this in any better way because this is Kush. But the story of slavery does not belong solely to black people, and the oppression that black people face will not end unless native oppression also ends, and vice versa. Even if most people aren't educated on it, our story and trauma is intrinsically connected. And we need to be working together. Like they had the Black Panthers, we should have had the Black Bear, the Black Horse or some shit. Girl, I don't know. You feel what I mean. But you're a descendant of slaves. And some of you are even descendant of slaves who then went on to own slaves. I don't want to start any drama, but one of those slave-owning tribes was the Cherokee. You didn't hear it from me.
Slavery in America was not some abstract sin we can tidy up with footnotes and cartoons. It was a daily terror, a system built on the breaking of human beings until they were stripped of name, lineage, and hope. To be enslaved was to live every waking moment under the threat of violence so casual it was indistinguishable from the weather. A whip split your back for moving too slowly, a lash fell for daring to look a man in the eye. A child was sold away from his mother as easily as a mule, and the screams that followed were drowned out by the auctioneer's call for bids. There is no softening this. There is no clever spin that makes bondage preferable. It was a theft of life day after day for generations. Enslaved men and women were forced into fields before dawn, bending their bodies until their backs were warped, until their hands bled and toughened into knots of scar tissue. They harvested cotton in the heat of Mississippi summers, and rice and swamps and tobacco that clung to their lungs like poison. They were denied shoes and medicine, denied even their own names, whipped for praying, whipped for speaking their mother tongue, whipped for showing the smallest flicker of resistance in their eyes. The women endured an additional hell. They were prey in their own cabins, subject to the whims of these masters. Rape was not an aberration, but an institution, a weapon used to produce more property children born already enslaved. Their fate sealed at birth. Husbands stood powerless. Wives endured silently or fought and suffered worse. Daughters learned too soon that they had no protection. Every intimacy was violated. Every relationship was shadowed by the knowledge that it could be destroyed in an instant by a sales slip or an owner's desire. And yet still they carved out humanity where none was allowed. They sang spirituals in fields and carried codes for escape. They wove African rhythms into new songs that would one day give birth to the blues and gospel and jazz. They whispered stories at night to their children so that memory could outlive the overseer's lash. And they built resistance in the quiet and sometimes in fire and flight, reminding the world that no chain can fully hold the human spirit. There is no pain in this world like the scream of a mother watching her child carried off to the auction block. If you can imagine it, the sun beating down on the courthouse square, men in waistcoats laughing and tallying their bids, and in the middle of it all, a child pulled from the arms that bore them. Small hands reaching, a voice breaking, his mother collapsing as strangers drag away her baby. That child will never see her face again. He will be raised by those who see him as nothing more than labor and profit and property, and she will wake every morning for the rest of her life, still aching for the child she can no longer feed, her soul clawing at a void that can never be filled. And this was not rare. This was not an accident. This was the machinery of American slavery. Families were currency. Husbands were sold away from wives. Children sold away from both. Brothers and sisters scattered to the winds, and the ones left behind were forced to keep working in the fields while their hearts broke in silence. The masters called it business, but the enslaved called it hell. And when someone smugly says that slavery was better than being killed, ask them to answer this: would you tell a mother that her child's sale was preferable to death? Would you look into the eyes of a father who watched his daughter dragged off into the arms of a leering master and say, at least she's alive? What kind of life is that? What kind of man calls that survival? And death is final, but it is honest. And slavery was a slow motion death, a tearing apart of families, of dignity, of soul, spread out over decades. It was the theft of generations. To say that such a fate was somehow a mercy is to speak with the voice of a slaver, not a free man. But we are not numb. So remember the ships where black bodies lay chained in darkness, unable to move, suffocating in the stench of their own survival. Remember the branding irons pressed to flesh, the iron collars that cut into throats, and the runaway notices nailed to courthouse doors as though men and women were livestock. Remember lynchings staged as town carnivals, postcards of black men hanging from trees passed around like trophies. Remember Tulsa and Rosewood and Elaine, Arkansas, and the burning of futures that dared to bloom. This is the inheritance of slavery, and no cartoon will ever wash it clean. Defiance till death.
Because Africans were familiar with slavery, but you were indentured, you were enslaved to work on a pyramid, but then you went home. No. They took it to a whole new level. No, not only are you enslaved, but when you have children, they will be enslaved. And when they have children, they will be enslaved. And you will be enslaved, your whole family, for, about 250 years until it's illegal. That had never been created before. So the concept of racism and the most egregious form of slavery is simple insanity. How another human being can come up with something like that and sustain it for centuries is a clear sign of insanity. I have come to the conclusion as a 70-year-old black man living in America, we cannot fix white people. We haven't been able to fix them in 400 years. We cannot fix them. White people must fix white people. This is what Toni Morrison said. Y'all got to fix yourself. We can't fix you. We have failed. You got to fix you. But we can fix ourselves. That's the most important thing. We can undo over time some of the damage done to us by their insanity. And we are damaged goods. I don't have to explain that to you, right? Just look at our behavior. So we are damaged goods, and we need to work on us. We can fix us. In fact, white folks are not going to fix us. You understand that? They haven't in 400 years. Who are white folks going to fix? White folks. Asians are going to fix Asians. East Indians are working on East Indians. They ain't working on you. Right? Arabs are working on Arabs. Our Jewish brothers and sisters are working on their issues and their people. That's who they should be working on. So they're not going to fix us. I have a good white friend who said to me, George, I know what black people's problem is. I said, oh, really, Bob? What is black people's problem? He said, you spend all of your time thinking about us, and we don't spend any of our time thinking about you. So, George, if you're not thinking about you, and we damn sure ain't thinking about you, who's thinking about you? I had to do the Holy Ghost thing.
When I say American slavery, what comes to mind? Probably Africans, but what probably didn't come to mind? Native Americans. The enslavement of indigenous people in the United States just may be the biggest omission in the American educational system. And this book, The Other Slavery, brings it out of the shadows with all of the receipts. America ended slavery in 1865, but that doesn't mean it stopped. This book exposes how millions of indigenous people were enslaved across America through laws, debt, and contract schemes. Now here's where the trickery comes in. The reason you don't hear about Native American enslavement, because they didn't call it slavery, they called it something else. Debt peonage or indentured servitude. And they wasn't on plantations in cotton fields, they was in the mines. Why this book matters? Because if we only recognize one form of slavery, we miss how exploitation keeps changing outfits. After you read this book, you will understand that America just doesn't have one form of slavery to contend with, it was two. And we can begin to really have that conversation about what happened to the Native Americans until people start getting informed. Grab you a copy in the TikTok shop. Peace.
Well, it was only a matter of time before this shit started. So while Trump was at Alligator Alcatraz with Kristi Noem and Ron DeSantis, they asked him about farmers, because farmers have been complaining if you deport too many people, we're going to lose our workers. So Trump said what we're going to do is we have a few cases where, and then he said a lot of cases where we're gonna call it farmers' responsibility. Then he stopped and doubled down twice and said owner responsibility of these workers. You go into the farm and you have a worker that's been there 10, 20 years, or if the farmer says, no, I really know him, he's a good guy, it'll be owner responsibility. So those workers are not workers. Trump says they'll be getting stuff, they'll be getting other stuff, but they won't be getting citizenship. But no, they won't be getting citizenship because they won't be workers, they'll be property. So all the years that they try to get rid of slavery, and this motherfucker right on TV, said owner responsibility. For the people who want a source, because I know there's gonna be people who are gonna come in here and say you're full of shit, guess what? It's on Fox News, ABC, NBC, CBS, MSNBC, Fox Online. It's on RS Right something, the right station where it's RSNB, whatever the fuck it is. So that shit is everywhere. You can look it up and read it. You can look it up and see it. Those are your sources. So eat me if you don't like what the fuck I'm saying.
Well, when I went to the United States, I was based in New York. And among the things I had to do, I had to go to a prison once a month. And I had to conduct an Islamic service for the Muslims in the prison. Imagine my surprise. When I went there, the hall was packed. Packed. I said, those who are Muslim, put your hands up. Less than a quarter, put their hands up. I said, what are you doing here? You're not Muslims. They said, no, we like Islam. When I went to this prison, I got a rude shock. I said, I thought slavery had ended. But when I come to the prison, I see all the prisoners are black, and all the police officers are white. I said, really? I thought slavery ended. I thought slavery ended. No, slavery hasn't ended. And every time I went to the prison, someone would take the Shahada. They love the religion of Islam. When I go to the women's section, I ask, put your hands up, all those who are Muslim. Nobody? I said, what are you doing here? we like this religion. We like this religion because your men respect your women, and our men don't respect our women. That's why we're here. And then when I lived in the United States, I found that those who were slaves yesterday are still slaves in the economic system. They are poor, and they will remain permanently poor. And the slave master is still rich, and will remain permanently rich. And so this is oppression. Slavery has not ended.
This is going to be a very interesting video. Ironically, this is the post that made you behave this way. They need to implement intersectionality in all schools. Rich white people have rich privilege and white privilege. Poor white people still have white privilege. Just because you're broken white does not mean that you don't have white privilege. Especially in terms of America, white people were never, ever discriminated against for being white. In fact, there were certain groups of white people that were discriminated against for not being white enough, like the Irish, Jewish people, Italian people. But like, here's where this really gets interesting. Weaponizing your disability in order to make black people feel as though white privilege does not exist just because you're disabled. I understand I have privileges because I am cis-het. I do not have privileges because of my race. You do because you are white. Again, this is ironic because you have proven my point. Reverse racism, not real. Reverse sexism, not real. Reverse ableism, not real. Losing your physical disability in order to defend their human supremacy is limbo low.
What white people have to understand is when discussing race, we're not asking for your opinion on blackness. Nobody asks for your little 2 cents about how the oppressed is handling oppression. Because for some reason, white people don't want to talk about whiteness. They want to talk about blackness. They want to talk about black on black crime, but they never want to talk about the school to prison pipeline. They always want to talk about the use of the N-word and how destructive it is, but they never want to talk about the system that treats them like one is far worse than being called one. You don't get to tell me I need to stop playing victim when things are still happening to me. And you're not impressing anybody by saying you don't see color. Furthermore, I'm gonna need y'all to stop running that Morgan Freeman statement into the ground. Simply not talking about racism will not fix racism. He was dead wrong. But let's entertain it. Let's live with it. Let's say we stop talking about racism right now. Let's see, I still got to deal with modern redlining, racist lending practices. I still got to deal with over-policing. Black men are still overrepresented in the penal system, in arrests and in exonerations. Then we still got to deal with race medicine, which allows doctors the recourse to underserve and just about neglect black patients. And that's just off the top of my head, and not one time did I mention slavery. Nobody's asking white people to take accountability for slavery. That's not what we're talking about. That's not possible. We don't even want y'all to understand oppression from our perspective. Again, that is not possible. All we want white people to do is to finally put up.
I may lose my little bit of following, but it's okay because Trump is trying to bring back segregation and I have to pick a side, so I choose mine. I have a few rules that we need to implement this time because last time y'all didn't play fair, but we got some new rules that we need to implement and I'm here to show you. Starting strong with number one, I'm so sorry to tell you this, but all invites to the cookout have been revoked effective immediately. Cookout is one of the most sacred events that black people have, and some of y'all been getting invited, and I told y'all that they can't be invited, but it's okay. We're gonna go ahead and revoke all access to all cookouts nationwide. No more access to cookouts. I'm so sorry to tell you. I know this was gonna hurt, but I have to go ahead and do it. We're taking back all of our language. Yes, all of our ebonics, our AAVE, we're taking it back. So no more yes, no more sis and spill that tea and clot that tea. It's gone. That's a wrap. Next on the list is the black style. As you can see, black people have their own specific style. It's our own thing, our own way of doing stuff, and y'all have been getting it and y'all have been taking it, and I don't understand why. If y'all really don't care for us like that, I don't know why y'all want to be like us. So we're gonna go ahead and take back our style. Just go ahead and pluck that. Thank you so much. The style taken back. Goodbye. Lastly, we're going to be taking back our style of dance, because as you can see, we do have a very specific style of dance. We do it in a very specific way, and you guys have been trying to take it for a long time, but you know, we're going to go ahead and take that back. I'm so sorry. We're going to go ahead and take our dance style back because you guys have just been taking enough from us. I know this is going to be hard for everybody to hear, but at the end of the day, we have to do what's best for our own groups. So, you know, these are the things that we have to do. This is what the president has decided to implement, so good luck.
So welcome again everyone, and thank you so much for watching this video up to this point. So as you have all seen from the videos that we were just watching, these people are trying they're afraid of us, so they're trying to find a way of taming us or a way of controlling us. So that's why they are threatening us over and over again, using things that we know that it's not going to work. So they're just using these things to threaten us over and over again. First, it was segregation. They were saying that they were going to bring back segregation, whereby the black and the white people are going to be separated, whereby the black will be having their own schools, their own restaurants, their own hotels, like their own fountains to drink water from, like their own toilets, and also the white will be having their own things. So yeah, they tried to threaten us with segregation, and they saw that we weren't threatened, or we didn't even care about whatever they were saying. Like whatever they were saying didn't bother us. So now they're bringing new things like into the picture. They're trying to threaten us with new things. For example, right now they're threatening us to bring back they want to bring back slavery. And as you can see, like, we still don't care, because these are just empty threats. They are trying to find a way of making us they want us to submit to them. So they're trying to find new ways of making us submit to them. So that's why you can see that they're trying to threaten us with slavery, segregation, and such things. They just want us to submit to them and do whatever they want. But because they are seeing that we are not cooperating with them, we are not allowing them to win, and we are not allowing them to have their way. Now this is truly it's hurting them in a way, because they thought by threatening us we are going to follow whatever they were saying, we were going to do whatever they wanted us to do. But as you can see, the black people are not ready to let them win in this. The black people are ready to support their own. They are ready to do everything possible to make sure that they don't get what they want, and this is really hurting them. So yeah, these people are afraid that the black people are really shining in all sectors. For example, you can see that most of the great movie actors right now are the black people. As you can see, most of the movies that you watch, like most of the big people, like the big stars, for example, Kevin Hart, these people are from the black community. So this is truly hurting them. Like they don't want to see the black people in control, or the black people ahead of them. Like a lot of black people are now in politics, a lot of black people are now, like, most of the sectors in this world are being run by the black people, and most of the things in US, it's the black people who are running them, and they don't want this. They want the white to be over the black people. But as you can see, the black people are very intelligent, they are very wise, and this is really hurting them. It's hurting their ego, because they thought that the black people can never surpass the white people. But right now, we are proving them otherwise. All sectors are being led by the black people. Like almost all the sectors in US, and not only US but the whole world, it's the black people who are leading the sectors. So now this is truly hurting them. So they want to find a way of compressing like the growth of black people. They want to make us submit to them, so that whatever they want us to do for them, we will do it. But as you can see, like, no black person is ready to do whatever they want. So this is really hurting them. So now they're trying to come up with ways to bring us down. For example, slavery, they want to use that as a way of bringing us down. Like, they think that by them threatening us that they're going to bring back slavery, we're going to be submissive to them, because they think that we will be afraid of slavery coming back. Like, the black people will be like, we don't want to go back to slavery, we don't want to be their slaves, so they think that we are going to submit to them. But as you can see, otherwise, like, no one is really afraid of this. Like, no black person is afraid of this. We are not afraid of these empty threats. We just know that these are just threats, and even if they try to do that, right now they cannot do anything to bring us down. If they want to bring back segregation, let them do it. We have a lot of for example, motels, a lot of big black people, like rich black people on a lot of motels. So it will be really good for us, because we'll have our own things and they will have their own things, and we will see among these two groups which group will shine. Because as you all know, at the end it is the black, because almost half of the places that these white people own, it's the black people that usually support their businesses. But without us, we will see what they will do. And also, it will be a good thing, because these people don't wash their hands. So yeah, by separating things like toilets and places that will be drinking water, it will be very good for us, because at least we have good hygiene. So that will be really good for us. We'll keep our places clean, yeah, and they will do whatever they want with their places. So I guess this will be a very great thing. But this thing that they're saying that they're going to bring back slavery, as we all know, it's just empty threats. They're not going to do such a thing. It's just a way of trying to make us submissive to them, but submit to them and do everything that they want. But as they know that we won't do that, so this is really hurting them. So yeah, I can only urge you that we as black we should come together and ensure that whatever these white people try to do to us, okay, not all white people, but these people who are in leadership, whatever they want to do to separate us, let's not allow that. Let's come together and fight them. If they are saying they're going to segregate us, let them do it. And we as black people, let's support each other. Let's support each other's businesses. Let's grow one another. Let's support our own black. If it's giving out jobs, let's give these jobs to our own people, so that we grow ourselves. Yeah. And if they want to bring back slavery, let them do it, because we all know that these are just threats and they're not going to do such a thing. And even if they try to do it, it will be very impossible for them to do it, because yeah, a lot of things and even the law cannot allow them. So yeah, that's all I want to say for today, and thank you so much for watching this video. And please, as usual, don't forget to like this video, to subscribe to this channel, and also, if you have liked this video, please share it to your friends or whoever you think might be interested in watching this video. And at the end of the video, please give your commentary, because whatever I'm saying is just what I think about it. This is just my comments. You guys also have your thoughts, have your comments. So please share your comments with me. Tell me whatever you guys want me to know, and I will reply to your comments, and I will also engage with you in this talk, and I'll be telling you what I think, and you guys you will also tell me what you think. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video up to this point, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. See you next time.